away the poppies, so a lot of things taken off the cards. Still, that Taliyah open and available. I'd have thought Ultra Prime would prioritize the Taliyah here. Obviously, IG first picked it last time, but we'll see if they go in that direction.
Maybe worried about what the response could be from Shun here in the jungle. So Hacker looking for something strong, as Shun game number 1 was on that Viego. At least the takeaway here begins the draft. As for IG, normally a bottom side pick here. Arn and Wink so far, it's been Draven lanes. What did we get last game, Orcs? We got the Sivir Yuumi. Like, this is the most standard bottom lane we've seen all series.
Yeah, and they're going to go for the Aphelios. It'll be interesting to see if they go for like the Renata here. Aphelios, Renata, a really strong lane, but I feel like you don't want to pass over the Taliyah again. Cryin, I'm honestly going to say, this is one of the best Taliyah performances in the entire league, which is why I'm surprised Ultra Prime didn't first pick it. But I feel like if you give them a second chance to take it, they will 100% lock it in. So IG will see if they end up taking that, but they commit to the bot lane. They go for the Aphelios Renata, a strong lane, very good anti-dive. But let's see what Ultra Prime will do in response. They could just take like Taliyah Gnar here and get 2 super strong solo laners.
I mean, Taliyah Gnar, Taliyah Gwen as well is something we haven't seen at all this series, but we just know that in the LPL, Gnar is still that top tier pick. Also wanted to point out things like the GP. What else have we lost here? You know, Xin was picked out in the last game too, but we've already got junglers more IG side. You already pulled this out, Orcs. The Taliyah comes through, and I feel like Cryin has probably been the better roamer so far.
I think Cryin's done a decent job moving. Something we've known him for back in his time on RNG when they did win MSI. He was that player who just moved up the top. And Ultra Prime, follow my advice and go for the Taliyah Gnar. You know, highest presence mid, highest presence top on the patch, and both super powerful. And now IG, you know, they have choices. They can respond to the top lane or mid lane pick, or they can pick their jungler. Either way, you know you're gonna get pinched in some areas. Looks like they might try and secure that Jax again. Let's look in the top lane. Obviously, he can play the matchup pretty well. It is something of a specialty of his. And then we go to the second rotation. So IG still looking for a mid, still looking for a jungle. And Ultra Prime, it's the entire bot lane. So expect to see some more bans coming in from the second rotation. There's still some powerful combos. Jinx is something often picked into Aphelios. There's still like Tahm or Seraphine available. There's still like Lucian, Nami, which is an option. And then for Ultra Prime, it's targeting those junglers away from Shun, right? He played the Xin Zhao before. And there's just a bunch of options you can start to look for there.
And I feel like when you've already highlighted the Lucian army, with Lucian out, takes away one duo. You mentioned Tahm. For someone like Elk, remember that this guy has been Aphelios mainly, then everything else comes in, being a big proponent of the Xayah Rakan lane down in that bottom lane. Sorry, without Rakan, ShiauC has been more willing to play Nautilus. So Elk has picked a lot of different ADs, a lot harder to ban out than some. And with IG getting rid of the Sivir, that means we could be reverting to just one of his favorites in the Xayah, in the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, decent Sivir ban. And, you know, you might think, why don't IG ban Nautilus? I feel like the matchup of the Renata and Nautilus is very playable. You can use your tools quite well to sort of mitigate the engage. So leaving the support picks up, but target away those AD carries. There is still center open available if they wanted to lean in that direction. Was Ultra Prime targeting those mid laners. Be interesting if they are actually going for a jungle ban here. So Lee Sin, they know the Shun can be really strong on this. Obviously, into Taliyah, it is mitigated a bit, but still don't want to give him as much early pressure. Now, I feel like in this situation, you could take something like the Vi here. The Xin Zhao also open and available, but didn't have too much of a successful game in that previous one. And bear in mind, we are seeing again the Viego from Hacker, and they will go for that Vi.
So the Vi comes through. I mean, surprising for Shun. Shun doesn't strike me as a real Vi jungle like Kindred, Lilia, Diana. This guy's got flair, and you know, now supporting some of the laners. We'll see how he goes. We talked a little bit about Ultra Prime's bottom lane though, Orcs, and Tahm was one thing you brought out. The Jinx as a response to Aphelios, another.
Yeah, I mean, in this situation, Jinx is often what we see traded into the Aphelios. You have that range. You can use that quite effectively. You can play at a distance, and actually going for the Tahm, interesting enough. So very good into the Vi, in a sense that obviously when Vi ults someone, you can just gobble them out of it. Not as effective in the laning phase into this Renata. Not really going to have a massive amount of threat, but I can understand the thought process here. And now we see what IG want to round out that composition with. Looks like they might be going towards the Zoe, and they will lock that in. So that they can use their range advantage over the Taliyah. One of the things with the Taliyah is like you obviously want people to get up close to you. You want to try and use that seismic shove. You want to control areas. Zoe can be a bit of a frustrating pick because if you're firing those sleepy trouble bubbles over a wall, very hard to avoid. You know, if they connect, you'll just get one shot.
I just love though seeing Mole on Zoe. Like, this is his best pick by far in the LPL. Has had some of his best games on it. So Aux, we're getting a bit of a flashback, and I think when this is the final game of the series, it's the perfect time to bring it out. For Ultra Prime, run me through a little bit about how this differs, because with Cryin on something that can move, you know, it does have that RNG feel, strong bottom lane that can scale, a top side that is great with supportive elements. It does feel like a very IG comp, I'd say, of last year.
Absolutely. And I feel like there's a lot of potential for this IG composition. You know, a lot of people that can play through, a lot of people that can carry. I do feel like rate of execution is pretty high, but we'll have to see how it ends up panning out here. You know, we've had a game which felt, you know, very IG favored, very controlled in the first one, other than a couple of mistakes. And Ultra Prime, bit of a back and forth. I feel like that's the main takeaway from this series so far. A big reason why these teams are low in the standings is neither of them are too crisp and too clean. There's a lot of volatility. We expect back and forth, but really I think the main thing is looking towards the early gaming, who can solidify control. I'm interested in this jungle matchup. I've got to say though, I feel like the fact that Ultra Prime have the Gnar, the Taliyah, and the Jinx, I feel like it's going to really be hard to deal with that when it comes to those team fights.
I feel like we're going to be talking a little bit about Mole's response, as you said, with the Sleepy Trouble Bubbles. The reason this is a big pick for him, not for his 55% win rate, but the fact that Mole's most played in his career over almost 6 years, actually next year will be 7, is the fact that 51 is his highest played, which is Zoe. Next is Rise at 22. So Mole has now played 30 more games on this champion competitively than anything else in the league. It's his best for a reason, and Mole on Zoe could not be more reminiscent of some of his best moments on Victory 5.
I feel like that's one of the things, like anyone who brings out a Zoe, you know they have to be comfortable in the champion, but the things this champion could do, and it's kind of one of those ones where like, it's very feast or famine. Like you either land the Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, you connect with the follow-up, or you don't. And it can be the difference between, you know, you one-shot someone, you chunking someone out, or you're just not really having the pressure. So bit of execution is high. And also, you know, there's the gobble from the Tahm Kench. We have cleanse from Elk, cleanse from Cryin again. Not only effective against the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, but the hostile takeover as well for the Renata. That super powerful tool. We'll have to see how things play out earlier, though. Obviously, Mole with that Ignite, with the Summoner Spellbook, can get quite a bit of pressure in lane.
As you said, though, Cryin with cleanse. Until Spellbook taken by him as well. It's going to be topside start here for ShiauC, likewise for Hacker, who is actually starting at the Gromp camp. And I think the way we see the map right now, ShiauC goes from red over towards the chickens. Mole and Cryin already battling it out, and Cryin gets a better trade in the end. So looking forward to this mid lane Aux, because there is a lot of skill checking that's going to happen here by the 3 mark.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of power between both of these two in the early levels. And yeah, it's who can connect with what kind of makes the difference between them. But also, I think one thing is Mole ideally wants to like land the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, force Cryin to cleanse, and then you can pop the Ignite and get the full damage. But we'll see how that one pans out. Bot lane, this is the expectation when you have Jinx and Aphelios. Obviously, the pushing power of the Jinx early, the fact that Aphelios, I mean, he doesn't even have an ability until level 2, just means you can find that advantage. And I love to see this, right? Especially when you're up against ShiauC. I was going to say, you know, going a bit deeper and getting a ward down in the enemy jungle, but they just play it safe and slap one down in the river. So not doing too much really to scout out this Vi.
And I mean, on the other side, Hacker will be scouted out himself. It's a ward that is going to spot him out as he crosses into that bottom side scuttle. As we keep looking towards mid. Mole with a good Sleepy Trouble Bubble, and Cryin going to get hit pretty hard here as a trade. So things continue to stay interesting there. While across the map, the only big CS lead I can see right now is Zika in this top side Aux, who is up massive. And that handshake, even bigger. ShiauC having to flash, but where are you going to go?
No.
Arn reaches it as Elk flashes over the wall, but he's going to match him. Hacker coming in red hot, but with the flash, he misses. Hacker misses. Gravitum's available too. And that's a disaster from Ultra Prime's jungler.
As if it couldn't get worse, but the stun hits the Renata instead, and ShiauC just playing disrespectfully, and on top of that, Mole starting to make the move down. They can dive Hacker here if he does overstay. Looks like with the Shroud, though, they'll won't end up going for it. But yeah, bot lane off Ultra Prime, big mistake. And this is the problem, you know, you take the Tahm for the value in the team fights, what it can do to shut down this Vi. But in the 2v2 lane, you're just gonna get harassed down. It looks like ShiauC just over traded a bit too much here. Yeah, half HP, they start to harass him. And I think a critical thing to mention is he hasn't gone for the great health here. He went for the W on level 2.
Yeah.
So, I mean, expecting himself to be tanky, but missing one of his greatest tools to soak damage.
And first blood in the Aphelios lane. Arn up massively here as we come back to a neutral wave. And Arn's already on the Noon Quiver versus double longsword. So, good early game here from IG. Yet again, 800 gold lead off the back of it too. And we saw Mole roaming down. I mean, this is great to see that IG have a really solid game plan in this final version.
Yeah, looking to get that early start. I think that's the thing. If you get momentum on this Aphelios Renata, it can be so difficult to deal with. Simply because of the fact that, like, you know, Aphelios is very good at dealing with threats with his high DPS. The big answer is to, you know, lock him down, blow him up. But if you have that bailout, it becomes such a monstrous task to not only take him out, but guarantee he doesn't get the reset in and is able to sustain up, you know, especially if he picks up a Bloodthirster. It kind of becomes like a bruiser, almost like a bruiser AD carry with how much damage you can soak. Like, you know, when you die and you have like the post death report, there's times just like, okay, you know, 2,000 health, Aphelios took like 4.5k damage just because he sustains up so much.
Yeah, and having yourself with the fleet plus things like overheal that's normally taken as Zoom TPs back to topside. I'm more interested now in jungle pathing because junglers have backed. It's been a full clear. We're 5 minutes into the game, and that dragon staring us in the face on the bottom side with Arn and Wink getting priority feels like the next thing to go towards Orcs, especially with IG having a slow push here, and Elk and ShiauC not really confident to step up to the wave.
Yeah, and understandably, right? Summoner's down as well. If you get caught by something very threatening, and I think the main thing is with this Tahm Kench, it's so easy to interrupt your W with the Renata, but also with the Gravitum available. If it does get cancelled, they can just run you down. And this is kind of the power of the Renata as well in the laning phase. Is she has longer cooldowns. If you find an all-in, that's sometimes where you can punish. But just the auto damage, the fact that, like, not only do you do the percentage HP, but also can be procced by your AD carry as well. And a nice little move there from Mole. This is one of the interactions that make this Zoe so threatening into the Taliyah, is that if she goes for the seismic shove, you can just use your ult to dodge the knockback, take no damage.
I mean, he's doing well in the lane. Like, the trade's getting more and more devastating as Dragon goes down. Mole now looking for the pick onto Cryin. Bubble connects. He's got a flash. He's got Ignite, but he ain't going to take it. Cryin was safe around the wall, but Cryin is not going to be safe in this lane. He's forced out.
Yeah, notice that the cleanse was used there by Cryin, and Mole has the patience to know that if he flashes over, Cryin will have already cleansed the sleep and got away. But now that's unavailable, right? The cooldown's not there. He will use some of the spellbook to get the TP and get back in lane. The cleanse being down for Cryin means that Mole can play pretty aggressively. He's going to use the spellbook for a TP back as well, but he will still have his Ignite available after that. If you land a Sleepy Trouble bubble, you get a Paddle Star into it, you get that Ignite at the end. That's 100-0 potential for sure.
And you got his Zoe Dark Seal as well. So once that starts stacking up, if Mole gets an opportunity, that's where we really see the snowball, is especially around the Herald coming up. As I might not even need to talk about that, Orcs, because Shun is thinking about a dive top. Oh my god, Zika's damage.
Yeah, he's been going Grasp into the Gnar. We saw that last time he played in this series as well. You know, often we see things like Conqueror, Lethal Tempo on the Jax, but the burst with the Grasp Pock is huge, and now they're looking for the dive.
Going into Mega, are they going to let him know? Into the air, the cease and desist, beautiful. Heartbreaker, though, means Shun is going to be traded off by Hacker. Cryin now moving in, but there is a Pride Stalker to be taken. Mole gets a stun perfectly, and that means he's out. Once again, Hacker getting a reset, and off that early game blunder, he's now 2-0.
Yeah, great punish there from Ultra Prime, and looks like Zoom didn't actually have his ultimate available in the Mega Gnar, so wasn't able to make use of that one, but did get the initial stun, did turn into Mega, and that extra HP bought time. And obviously, Cryin on the Taliyah, he's gonna roam up, he's gonna respond. So, got a replay of how that one played off. Obviously, with the ult down from Zoom, I think that's why they wanted to go for this dive. But look, he actually does hit the Mega and get the stun, and that buys enough time for the resets. And then the fact that we see Cryin using the ultimate to get here, just really fantastic punish from Ultra Prime.
Mole not getting killed, but still not getting much from the play. Kill did go over, so worth mentioning that for Invictus Gaming, they still got the gold where they wanted. But we're now up to Herald territory. Aux, top side of priority. Already started up here by Shun, as it seems that Hacker decided to reset and is also on the wrong side of the map.
Yeah, and, you know, IG at least getting something out of that whole passage of play, and it'll be interesting to see how they can make use of this Herald to try and snowball this one. But, like, honestly, you know, good Herald can make all the difference in sort of getting an advantage in the game, and IG are up in gold. Hacker, gotta be a bit careful here, I feel.
Oh, he got it, though. He did get it as Mole's on the chase. Hacker running away is great, but ShiauC might be the bigger target. His handshake's almost up and available, but the Abyssal Dive gets him out. While we're looking at the top side for the time being, Zika was forced out from being deep while Ultra Prime are burning flashes on our main screen down here in the bottom lane. Mole going to steal a flash himself, but we're just playing a bit with the mess for the time being.
Yeah, so Elk having a flash there, and Zika also had to burn his flash on the top side. So Summoner's being traded on both sides of the map, but neither team finding a major advantage. And this is kind of where we are in the game right now, where IG, they want to find a major advantage somewhere on the map so they can slam down their Herald. I think, you know, we saw in the previous game, often the first Herald, you just slam it down mid, get a couple of plates, you know, you take that bit of gold, that mid tower gets weakened. But if you can find like a kill in one of the side lanes, or you win a skirmish, the ideal is you get like a full-on team fight win into a Herald, where you can get, like, ideally a full tower.
Yeah, take it down, get that early gold. Zoom using ulti on top side. Remember, Gnar ult is really not on that big of a cooldown, and Zika looks to threaten. We'll be looking for that Herald that Shun will place down. And at this point, you know, Mole in a great position. I think that's one thing we did talk about here on this Zoe. Lost Chapter picked up, a couple of stacks on the Dark Seal. What's also impressive is we have our first item on people like Hacker, Arn as well, just picking up the Gale Force here. Kempunk Chainsword first for Shun. So we are getting towards the first item before this dragon spawns in 45 seconds.
Yeah, and obviously that's one of the nice things with the Kempunk Chainsword is Hacker's ahead, he's got 2 kills in his pocket, but because you're going for that cheaper item spike, you're able to at least have a completed item. And don't get me wrong, obviously Divine Thunder is more expensive and also like a more powerful item, but at least being able to keep up in some item parity for the time being now. See a lot of pressure coming in on the top side. Health has to cleanse.
Wow, that cleanse amazing.
Oh,
Flush from Arn! That solo kill, brilliant. And Arn just decided to pack a punch in the 1v1.
Man, the confidence to go for the play with the Gale Force. Finds L. ShiauC not there to assist. And then IG, as much as I say, like, you know, the mid play is often not the most effective. Oh my lord, look at that damage. The big positive here is plates had already been taken out by Mole, so they get that mid tower to just 1 plate left. This is the thing, Cryin tries to be active on the map, playing this Taliyah, trying to move around, can be really costly when waves are pushed in, plates are denied. So big positive for IG there. Going to be 2k gold up and looking for their second dragon of the game. And with the advantage they had bot, this should be a freebie.
I mean, early game has just been, again, another success for IG. Okay, Elk, maybe thinking that he's going to get some kind of AD carry, but Arn did move to the dragon, so all's fair play. I'm ready for the replay. That was a stylistic kill from Arn. That was a beautiful kill from Arn. And Aux in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Yeah, get the close-up replay where you can see an essentially Gale Force forward. As much as the cleanse comes out, they're, you know, still able to follow up with the damage. And the confidence to ult, flash, Q. Knows he has the burst available. Beautifully executed, honestly, there from Arn. And just the fact he was aware ShiauC wasn't there to come and save him. Picked that window perfectly. And typically we see the Jinx picked into the Aphelios because you use that range advantage. Effective use of the Gale Force is how you find the windows to punish, right? When the Jinx does overextend.
Had it first, got the first kill, remember? So Arn, as you said, utilizing the windows so nicely when Elk had nothing on his own side. Now, with IG picking up a couple of those kills and getting themselves the charge through mid, it's almost a 2,000 gold lead. The second objective we talked about was the Dragon. Next Herald in a minute 50, but I'm just looking across the board at these CS leads starting to rise up in the game. Even in jungle, despite Shun not having the 2 kills to match, he's 10 CS up alongside Mole, alongside Arn. IG's early game Orcs, we're back to square one like we were in the first game as Cryin has to cleanse away from Mole again.
Yeah, and he's struggling with this pressure, honestly, into the Zoe. Now the whole team moving over. This tower is probably just going to be forfeit. They want the final plate. They want the first tower. And losing mid-tier 1 this early is so painful. It's such a big boost to the team who takes it, not just in the gold, but in the fact that you can push in deeper. Moments like this, right? Shun, as soon as that tower's down, he's like confident, I can push the enemy jungle. Cryin's catching the wave of the tier 2. It opens up the map so significantly, gives more space, and importantly, puts so much pressure on the side lanes. And already, IG are looking to potentially capitalize on that. They do lean over, but they second guess it. But yeah, IG, this early game is going as IG love to do. They're finding the advantages. They have the goal lead, but they need to continue this momentum. There is going to be that Herald up in 45 seconds. And we'll see if they put some priority towards that. If they secure that, if they secure this next dragon, this game is clean sailing to take this in a 2-1.
For now, spotted on the bottom side, it looks like Shun was going to make a play before that timer gets any closer, but backing all the way up to his blue buff. A good reset timer incoming as well, even for the top laners here, as they're still trying to pick up their first item. Trinity here for Zoom, and this back from Zika should net him something similar. Still just waiting as the Jax. Yep, there we go. Trinity refunded. Actually going to get Tabi instead of the first mythic before this next objective spawns.
Yeah, one of those extra defensive stats, although I'm not sure if we get a full contest over this Herald right now. I feel like the thing for IG is it's not as big of a priority, given that you've already taken that mid tier 1. But if you get the window, you'll for sure take it. But looks like for the time being, Ultra Prime are trying to make a lean bot. You can see support jungle lady carry all there. They don't really want to contest in a full-on fight, so they're going to try and put some pressure on Zika. And you know, all I'm going to say is if you're trying to defend against a dive, I would much rather have the Tabi, if I'm being real, Hysterics. Yeah,
that's true. I mean, going to get you a lot against this Jinx, Gnar, Viego. At this point, Ultra Prime, though, are going to be picking up bottom lane turret. IG already got first turret blood through mid, but at least Ultra Prime now getting onto the board as top side is going to be the trade-off. So gold remains in favor of Invictus Gaming, and especially with this Herald, pings are coming down towards the top side here, Aux. They want this tier 2 fast.
Yeah, I'd love to see them Herald here and go for the tier 2, get a big bunch of gold that you get from these side lane tier 2s. Zoom is close to Mega, but it's just been slept. Really nice coming out from Mole. And with him using the dash away, there's no chance he can go for an engage. So they get the tower they want, they get the extra gold, and IG are ensuring that they trade up in these situations.
3K now at 16 minutes, 3K with the next dragon coming up in 45 seconds. Another good back timing from Invictus Gaming, and it just continues to be clean stuff across the board. Even with bot side getting pushed out here. I mean, Aux is one thing we didn't talk about, and then when you were mentioning mid turret going down, mid turret against a Zoe, losing it so early on, losing control of vision. Although not there yet, it feels like Ultra Prime, it's the extra angles in your own jungle that makes it so scary to play out.
Oh, for sure. Like, it can be such a massive threat. Do you see TP coming in? It looks like, you know, IG, despite putting the pressure on the top side of the map, they want this dragon. You can see that they're looking to threaten for it. They could just go for Hacker. This is so scary.
I mean, the trouble bubble connects. How's he going to get out of this? He doesn't flash as everyone jumps in. What goes up must come down, apparently, is Invictus Gaming are going to get launched at by some good damage from Elk, but now it relies on Cryin with a Renata ulti, a hostile takeover, hitting max range, only on a Cryin who cleanses away. Handshake out of range as ShiauC is still by himself at the back of the pit, but Mole is hitting these bubbles. Arn is not hitting those ultis, as Shun's getting poked out as well. This is so messy. Wild for Zoom as he goes out of Gnar, but now caught out. This team fight is nothing impressive as Ultra Prime lose so many members. The next dragon, and that was just silly.
I don't even know what to say about that. Hacker just caught sleeping. Like, this is a Viego with ult flash, but he just walks up to IG. I was like, okay, they have a Vi, they can just jump on him immediately, but doesn't get the chance, gets slept. And then Cryin, I want to give credit to Cryin, who made that look messy, made that look close, but we don't get time for that. Looks like they're trying to find a play, but they will get out. But yeah, Cryin was finding these shoves, getting a ton of damage down on the IG, making it a threat. But IG, got a replay of that coming out. Yeah, I mean, they just see Hacker. He's walking up. There's a control ward.
And he keeps walking. He sees two people to keep walking anyway.
Oh, my Lord. Yeah. And then so you see what Cryin keeps doing a ton of damage. You know, you get the ult coming in as well. But Cryin is like being a relevant threat. But like Zoom misses the ult. ShiauC, I don't know what he's doing there. Right? I don't think he does either. And then again, more damage coming out from Cryin. But then Zoom, like, he loses Mega. And he's running in.
Yeah. That's not JDG Zoom. That's definitely not JDG Zoom.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah, that's tilting. That's so tilting. I mean, Ultra Prime were running out of gold before, but 5K, third dragon. IG not only with the early game, but as you talked about, you know, this Aphelios now with the Collector picked up. And I feel like the biggest fear right now is also Mole, who has himself the Ludens, almost second item coming through with either the Alternator or probably the Shadow Flame on the way. And Ultra Prime struggling to keep up. Even Inner in the mid lane, Aux, is going to be contested here. And there's only 2 members from Ultra Prime. They will get dove if Shun goes in. And guess what? Shun is ready to go in as Arn just pops forward. Once again, Gale Force is available. Elk is willing to stand and fight, but I'd be scared. Vault Breaker gets him out. At the very least, the turret goes down. That's all IG came for.
Yeah, IG get the turret, and they also, the threat, they were trying to get ShiauC to burn his gobble early. He doesn't. But at the end of the day, they get the mid tier 2, they get the bot tier 2. Just a ton of gold, and as much as Ultra Prime got a Tahm return, got an objective bounty, it is still IG with a 6,000 gold lead, 2 minutes 40 on that dragon. And I want to remind you of the stakes here, right? Ultra Prime don't have many series left. They'll have 4 after this. But if they lose this one, their scoreline would be 3-9, and their game score would be worse than IG by a decent margin. I believe they're down. Yeah, so right now they have a minus 10 game score. If they lose this series, they'll have a minus 11 game score, and IG will have a minus 8. So 3 higher game difference for IG and an equal series score would be devastating for the chances of making playoffs.
I think what matters more is the fact that Ultra Prime, in terms of series, like 3-8 is usually the bare bones of what you can get away with. You know, 8 wins in the LPL more or less guarantees playoffs in the 6th to 10th position. But going down to 9 losses alongside IG, you can only reach 7. And 7 in only a few splits has been a guarantee as the final position. It's never more than 9th, never more than being 10th.
And bear in mind, Ultra Prime still have to play V5. They still have to play V5. So, you know, we're talking as if they lose this and then go on to beat V5. They would not be in a good spot. I think it goes without saying. So Ultra Prime staring down a 6,000 gold lead. This fed Zoe, this fed Aphelios. They need options, and they need them now.
Well, they need an opportunity because IG are controlling the map. We saw the early turrets taken Aux, and the vision is so minimal as Mole keeps jumping in. Okay, there's another ward that's going to be dropped down. Missing pings going through from Ultra Prime because there's only a couple of wards up here, but IG know the Baron is going to be uncontested for the time being. They started off.
Yeah, they have a smite picked up from Mole as well to try and make this happen, but it looks like they just turn off it. One of the things to mention is that this fight isn't actually that tanky, so it takes a lot of damage from Baron, but they are fishing. Oh, look, is it going to flank?
Look at him. Gale Force comes as well. Zika going to finish it off. ShiauC. Gobble comes out early as IG might not have full health bars, but Mole has the confidence on his most played pick. Finally, we get to see this man on something that can carry the hell out of games.
Man, the damage coming out, and yeah, Zoe not really something we see that often in the meta, but working well in this matchup into Taliyah. Bear in mind, Taliyah, highest presence mid laner, but Mole has made it work, showing why Lyric was so hyped to see him play. But now 15 seconds till that dragon. And resets are come in from IG, so we're going to see a TP come out from Zoom. He's just picked up a Randwins.
And he's also picked up a Trouble Bubble.
Slept. Won't get the follow-up, but this is big, right? I feel like with the tanky Vi, with the tanky Jax, Vi just finishing the Mythic, you don't want to give over an Ocean. But they need to find their way into this fight.
Just look at him, though. I mean, Mole's angle, even on a wall, they're like, okay, we can pop him up, seismic shove. Too early. Trouble Bubble yet again as that Soul at 23 minutes is a threat. With Mole still playing the angles, Cryin at half HP yet again. The bubble zones off part of this corridor while Ultra Prime just keep getting poked out. Mole now a new angle. Cryin, no, it's Elk, and he's gonna die. Shun now dunks the rest as Molly once more on Zoe, gets another kill. If he dies, does it matter? No, because he won't die anyway. IG unleashed with the best mid laner for this guy's pool.
Man, what a performance. Mole single-handedly carrying that one, I gotta say. Shun there with the follow-up, though. And Elk dies without flashing. ShiauC doesn't even get a chance to save his AD carry. I believe the Gobble just came off cooldown now anyway. But yeah, so Gobble not available, but look here. It looks like Cryin's gonna be the target, but that huge burst of damage to the Elk, and then even stopwatches so he doesn't get followed up on. And Shun just says, yeah, you're mine. Instantly managed to take out Cryin on the back end. At that point, the fight is just done. They get the soul They don't lose a single member, and they get the Baron as well.
IG making sure Ultra Prime don't have a chance towards playoffs this split. This is going to be a defining match for Ultra Prime, and we've been so hyped about this roster. But Aux, this game 3, IG, yes, have been playing to a T, but this has just been so lackluster from people like Hacker, Zoom, like that last Dragon fight before the Soul came up. I mean, I don't know what to say about Ultra Prime, but I think one of the biggest disappointments as what could have been a dark horse for a final playoffs position earlier in the split.
Yeah, it really could have. They started split off well, and it felt like they had the pieces. That's the main thing. Kind of similar to BLG in some ways. Like, you feel like they have the players. But honestly, I would say the difference between BLG and Ultra Prime is you actually saw how they fit together as a team, how they would play it out, right? You have this roaming mid lane who can lean towards bot. There's aggressive early jungler, and Zoom fantastic at just playing the weak side, but it just hasn't pieced together. And now, staring down a 10k gold lead, a Baron, an Ocean Soul, and their playoff chances potentially disappearing off the back of this loss, they have to try and find a win to defend.
Airfrost stolen. Look at this 2-item Zoe with Magi's. I mean, almost 3. Let's be real. The Magi's is going to be an acting 3rd item shortly as Cryin just gets bullied out. Yet again, the poke, Mole, trouble bubble, beautiful against the turret. Zika wants to jump in. Zoom flashes away. He's been hitting 9 out of 10 of these sleepy bedtimes as Cryin once again gets slapped in the face by a 300-year-old child that is running amok in this mid lane.
They just don't have an answer right now. They lose bot inhib, they lose mid. Sure, they don't lose any members, but the damage is done, and there's still over a minute left on this Baron. IG are giving no room for Ultra Prime to reset, to breathe.
Man, I would love to see the full-on damage right now if Elk gets caught. Cleanse is not available, and Mole continues to hover around. They're just not backing. Utilizing the Baron where it might not be the biggest power play, but it gets all 3 inhibitor turrets. And as Zoom steps up looking for Wink, he flashes away, then Gale Force back in for Arn. And Zoom's going to get another thing coming as Ignite comes through. There's some good chompers, but the rocket swings through the team. IG still cleaning this up as the seismic shove. Brilliant, but still not enough. IG want to end it here, Orcs. They're still not backing away.
I think they should reset now, though. You've got so much gold off the back of this, so much huge influx of money. Go spend, pick up the Infinity Edge for On, some other item spikes to come in, and then you just go for the push with 3 lanes of super minions. It's so hard for Ultra Prime, and notice Elder Dragon in 2 minutes 45. If Ultra Prime can't move outside of the base because they're clearing minions, how are they ever contesting this? But I'm going to be real, Hysterics, I don't even think it needs to come to that Elder Dragon. They'll be able to reset and spend, and like you look, fact that On is 2 levels up on his counterpart, finishes the IE. We'll see if he has money for anything else as well. Looks like he doesn't at the moment. Just a Ruby Crystal. Interesting pickup, I'll be real. Yep. I would honestly think that maybe a red pot would be a better buy, but maybe you only had the 400 gold. Either way, IG in firm control of this game.
I mean, Mole is just taking over. It's all I've been talking about. Onto Zoom. That's a Mega Gnar. The troll bubble is going to be avoided away. Even 3 people from Ultra Prime aren't feeling confident enough to walk in with this Ocean Soul mid laner. The rest of IG moving in as Shun and Wink hit the choke, but you look at what's happening. Topside waves stacking up. Mid is being carried in. Bot is being companioned by Zika. IG are going to bring it all together at once.
They're just going to use the minions against Ultra Prime, and this is basically how the play is going to go. Either IG find the end of this, off the super minions, or they simply just don't let them leave the base and go for the Elder. Right now, there is a lot of wave clear on Ultra Prime, but the harass is coming in from the Zoe.
And they're just going to go for the Nexus turret. It's good hostile takeover. Hits 2 people while IG continue to poke them out in Ultra Prime. Their last stand has to come through as Zoom gets the 80 carry, but as that stopwatch pays dividends, he's now in the middle, not tanky enough. Fits into a smaller person as IG are jumping in, but is it going to be for the kills or the game? The poke continues to come through. Mole's getting resets here. Finally, we see him back on Zoe, Orcs. I have been waiting forever and a day to be talking about Mole Zoe, and here to finish off the series and deny Ultra Prime playoffs most likely. It's Mole coming up clutch.
What a carry performance from Mole, and a much needed win for IEG. This late in the split, there isn't many opportunities left available, but they'll be able to get their 3rd, and it's still looking dire for them, don't get me wrong, but they keep their hope alive. They show that they're not done with the split yet. They're still able to challenge, and a devastating blow towards Ultra Prime. They'll equalize in series score off the back of that, but the game difference is a huge edge for IG.
And the confidence from IG as well, like not only an edge just through the game and standings or whatever, but in terms of confidence, like Arn in the solo kill in the bottom lane against Elk. This is the IG that gave us a lot of confidence earlier in the split, remember? And it's so funny because while Shun was, you know, a key member on this Vi, for once, IG just wasn't dictated around this jungler. It was dictated around mid, it was dictated around bot, and through those lanes as well. I guess Shun this time got a little bit of carrying himself.
100%. I mean, I feel like a strong performance, though, from Shun as well, even though he wasn't the prime carry, I've got to say. But there's two sides to me. I'm kind of bittersweet because I'm like, where has this IG been? Like, don't get me wrong, there were still mistakes, but like, it felt like they were better in the mid to late in this one, like more convincing. The game one where they had the lead, they managed to keep control, even though there were some mistakes. But this one felt like they just never gave them the time of day. And Mole on this Zoe absolutely popping off. So, you know, IG with a big win for them. And I think showing what the individuals can do, that it isn't just Shun, it isn't just this jungler to be the one who has to carry the game through to the end.
So clean. I think overall, like, we look at IG and their development in that series. Game 2 was such a blunder. But we look at the development in the sense that, yeah, with that individuality striking through, we know what to expect for next year. You know, for IG, like Zika and maybe Mole are the calls. You know, maybe for Shun, he needs someone who has a much more solid laning phase and has more carry threat rather than the utility mid, which Yuekai earlier in the split Aux was providing.
Yeah, and that's the thing you got to think about. This is not the IG of old. This is not the World Championship roster with the Shy and Rookie. This is, you know, a mix of players, some who we've seen before, some who are more new and they're trying to get their grips on the league. Yeah. And I feel like even if they don't make it to playoffs in the end, even if they don't have the most successful split, it's still a lot of lessons going forwards into 2023. And I feel like a lot of light has been shed. And I think if you can have a strong mid jungle, you know, Zika is fine in the top lane. There's still some issues with bot lane, but maybe this is the arrangement they needed all along. We could see them rise up. And I think, you know, I'm glad we're seeing, I said at the start of the day that, you know, IG this team where after 6K, 8K goal behind, you still feel like they could throw it away. And I'm glad that didn't happen today. They didn't throw it away in either of the games they had those massive leads.
Looking so much more solid, like the coordination, the macro factor as well from IG, especially in this third game, was a lot higher. And, you know, props to Wink. We didn't talk much about this Renata, but, you know, Wink had a great game.